Negative and zero exponents. Lesson 4.4 notes. 0 as an exponent. For any non-zero number x, x to the 0 is 1. So as long as the x is not 0, so 0 to the 0 is not 1, but any other number to the 0 power is 1. 12 to the 0 power is 1. 5 to the 0 power is 1. 1.333333 to the 0 power is 1. Okay, the only number that is not 1 when you take it to the 0 power is 0. 0 to the 0 power is actually undefined. So pause your video, get that written down. All right, now I would like you to write down this example. So 4096, x to the third, y to the seventh, z to the eighth, all over 729, x to the eighth, y, z to the 20th. And all of that is to the 0 power. That entire quantity is to the 0 power. Now, when you look at this, a lot of people want to start dividing right away because you're supposed to do what's inside the parentheses, which I completely understand. But as long as none of those variables are 0, then anything to the 0 power is 1. Now, we've actually already kind of dealt with this. We've had some other problems where we've had, for example, f to the fifth over f to the fifth in problems, and they have canceled out. So we understand that, 5 minus 5 is 0. It cancels out. It becomes a 1. All right? But I want to do this problem with you. All right, so I know this is a doozy. You're not going to see anything really like this. But if you can understand this, you will be fine for this lesson. All right? Now, when you look at this, some of these exponents are positive and some of them are negative. You could do where you just go through and subtract everything and then decide if it should be in the numerator or denominator, or you can make everything positive first. In a problem like this, I prefer to make the exponents positive before I do anything. So I'm going to highlight everything in the numerator that needs to move to the denominator. So this would need to move to the denominator. I'm going to fill it. Try that again. This would need to move to the denominator, and the f term here would need to move to the denominator. So you should just be following along with this. You don't need to write this down. If you want to write it down somewhere, that's fine, but just follow along. So that means this needs to move to the denominator, this needs to move to the denominator, and this needs to move to the denominator. In the denominator, I have a to the negative seventh. I'm going to change these to, there we go. All right, that would need to move. B to the third. Sorry, b to the negative third, I should say. C to the negative 2. So there are the terms that have negative exponents. So this should move to the numerator, this should move to the numerator, and this should move to the numerator. Okay. Now, if it's not highlighted, it stays where it is. And a negative out front is not the same thing as a negative exponent. Sometimes students want to take the negative 54 or just take the whole thing and flip it, okay? We're only going to move what has a negative exponent. So what I have highlighted is the only thing that's going to move. So watch what happens when I rewrite this. All right, so the 54 will stay where it is. I'm not going to have a to the negative third, but this a to the negative 7 on the bottom will move to the top and become a to the 7th. b to the second stays where it is, so I'm going to write b to the second. But also, this will move to the numerator. So I'm also going to have a b to the third. c to the fourth is moving to the denominator, but c to the negative 2 moves to the numerator. And when it moves, it becomes a positive 2. d to the fifth stays where it is. E to the 7th stays where it is. And both of these stay where they are. And then f to the negative 8 is going to move to the denominator, and this is going to stay put. So that's it for the numerator. On the denominator, or in the denominator, I should say, I'm still going to have 36. This moves to the denominator, so a to the third. Both b's are in the numerator. C to the fourth moves to the denominator. This d to the fifth, e to the third, f to the fourth, they all stay in the denominator. So I'm going to write down d to the fifth, e to the third, f to the fourth, but then also this f to the negative 8 moves to the denominator and becomes f to the positive 8. All right. Now that all my exponents are positive, now I can divide. All right. So to do this, I'm going to start with my coefficients. And my coefficients are negative 54 over 36, which is negative 3 halves. Negative 3 halves. So this is going to be negative 3. On the bottom is going to be a 2. A to the third has the smaller exponent. 7 minus 3 is 4. C to the second has the smaller exponent. And 4 minus 2 is 2. D to the fifth and d to the fifth. 5 minus 5 is 0. So d to the 0 power is 1. I don't need that. It completely cancels out. E to the third has the smaller exponent. 7 minus 3 is 4. Now notice I didn't do anything with my b terms and my f terms. Well, with both b's in the numerator and then both f's in the denominator, this is no longer division. Because b to the second and b to the third is in the numerator, that is actually multiplication. And when you multiply, you add the exponents. So this is going to become b to the 2 plus 3 is 5. And down here, f to the fourth and f to the eighth is multiplication. So I'm going to add those exponents to get f to the 12th. Now to write my final answer, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes, so you need to be careful. Whatever is in the numerator will stay in the numerator. Whatever is in the denominator will stay in the denominator. So in the numerator, I have negative 3, so I'm going to move my negative out front. If you keep it in the numerator, that's fine. I have negative 3. I have a to the fourth, b to the fifth, and e to the fourth. In the denominator, I have 2 c squared f to the 12th. Center that just a little bit. And that is my final answer. So the big long problem that was up above simplifies to this much smaller answer down below. All right, so that is dealing with both negative and zero exponents. The zero exponents were the d to the fifth and d to the fifth, because 5 minus 5 would be 0. If you have any questions on this, please let me know.